No apologies received.
Okay. I have to say that I did get something from Kieran. He wasn't too sure whether he was going to come, so I can't. He hasn't given any reason, so that he wants to publish. So we'll just sort of note that he isn't here. And declarations of interest, it will come up later on as a green common right holder, whatever.
Sorry, Graham. Ian's just messaged to say he's having trouble with Zoom, but he'll keep trying.
Okay. Fine. Anybody else wish to declare any interests? No. Okay. Right. Comments and observations from members of the public and to receive reports from the county councillor. Now, we know that Ian's not coming, so that part of the open session won't happen. Does the member of the public wish to say anything?
Unmute. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thanks, Graham. Yeah, no, just a quick comment. I'm sure it'll be detailed discussions on 2021-38 to decide adding Zoom link to meeting code to the agenda. I know Ian's raised this before because I think Hemmingford do. I've used Zoom for quite a while now, and it depends, I guess, on how you're going to manage that if you do decide to add it to the agenda. It's a difficult one for you, I think, because it's an open meeting, open to anybody. Anybody can walk through the door if we were in the village hall, and you wouldn't be able to sort of moderate it from that perspective. And they could come in and they could sit down. You can't ask who they are, where they're from, or any of that. So from that perspective, it's a difficult one to put some limitations on who can access it. But having said that, Zoom bombing, as we know, is a big problem. And when you publicise it on any sort of social media, I know there are bots out there that just go around gathering up any Zoom addresses out of anything effectively and plague them. So it's a bit of a balance. I guess my recommendation would be to not publicise it in anything you put out openly on the internet, unless you put in restrictions, and I'm sure Nicola's very aware of the restrictions you can put in place. So two ways of doing it is, one is to use a two-factor authentication, which means you put out the address of the Zoom meeting, but you then send the password separately to whoever it is that wants to attend. And that's usually done if you want to put it out on a Twitter feed, as an example, and then somebody has to request the password to get in. And I think in this case, probably not appropriate, because you could just as well send the password with the Zoom link to somebody that wants to be invited into it. The other way is to have an authenticated Zoom session, so only people that have got a logged in Zoom account can access the meeting, and then Nicola can moderate that because they can then see who it is that's logged in. But the downside of that, of course, is I can make up a Mickey Mouse Zoom account and it doesn't really tell you who I am. So it's quite a complex one. There's a lot of good things in Zoom to help restrict the potential of Zoom bombing, but there again, you want to make it as open and easy as possible. So I just thought I'd throw those few things in when you're having your deliberations later as to how you're going to do it. And I'm really happy. I've got a lot of experience of all of the nuances of Zoom if anybody wants to ask questions afterwards or even during the meeting. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, that's coming on page 2. Thank you. Right. So moving on to the closed session. Item number 1, 21/28. This is to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 1st of June and the Planning Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 16th of June. Now, you've all seen the minutes. Are there any comments? If we take the planning meeting first of all, sorry, the monthly meeting first of all, we were all there apart from Laura. This is Laura's first Zoom, by the way, with us. So welcome, by the way. We're missing Ian, but apart from that, are the other 7 of us happy? Or is it 6 of us? Yeah, Peter's nodding. Yeah. Rob, yeah, okay. Well, then I propose that I will sign those minutes. Can I have a seconder, please? Yeah, Peter's seconding. All those in favour? Raise hands, yeah. Fine, okay, so that's just the 6 of us, yeah. Thank you very much. And then moving on to the planning meeting on the 16th of June. This was Elmsbrook. Is it Elmsbrook or Elmbrook, by the way, Rob?
Elmsbrook.
Elmsbrook. Okay, so this is Elmsbrook. And again, we were all there. So myself, Peter, and Sharon. Anybody got any comments on what we wrote down? So I propose that I would sign those then. Can I have a seconder to that, please? Oh, and seconding. All in favour? All the four of us? Are we happy? Yeah, we are. Okay, thank you much. That's good. Right, so moving on to...
You can vote on that one, Rob.
He can vote on it.
Okay.
Well, he can vote to
Approve the
ratify the
minutes.
minutes.
Can he?
Okay.
Oh, I've got here. Oh, I assumed he wouldn't be able to. Right.
He couldn't vote in the meeting, but he can vote to say that the minutes are accurate.
Right, and did you vote? He raised his hand, just keep him busy. Okay, right, second item. Matters arising from last meeting, including clerk's report. So this is where the clerk gives us a rundown of matters that have arisen since our last meeting. Thank you.
Bear with me, I'm still noting resolutions.
Okay, and still no Ian.
Not yet. I've just resent him the link.
Okay. Fair enough.
Oh, I've got. Okay. So the insurance, I instructed CAS, so they are now covering the parish council. We have had several reports of people fishing in Reeves Ditch. Whilst technically there is a sign up asking people not to fish, there's not actually a bylaw in place as far as I'm aware to enforce. But Councillor Dunk spoke with the people concerned as they had actually parked their car right by Reeves Ditch, so asked them not to park their car on the green. As part of the coronavirus support, Hilton Parish Council are now an approved partner of the NHS Responder Scheme, so we can refer parishioners to that scheme if they need extra help. I have sent a letter of thanks out to all the people that have volunteered with the Parish Council's coronavirus support, both a letter that was received from HDC and also thanks from me as clerk. I have put the survey for the LHI bid on the website and also on Facebook, and put a poster out on all the notice boards as well. And a link to the survey was sent to both the Parish Council's email contact database and also to Andy for his mailing list and website. I have been in contact with the Highways Department of the County Council, as they didn't actually have my contact details. They had a councillor's contact details, so I was not getting any of the messages from the Highways Department regarding repairs or closures. So following a query from a parishioner that came out of a newspaper article about the repair of the local roads following the A14 works, I've spoken with our local highways officer, and he's confirmed that the B1040 through Hilton is on the list to be repaired. Following a previous meeting, I spoke to the policy and regulation manager at the County Council, just to clarify regarding a document that was purported to be from her, and she has confirmed that is from her, and has advised that there's a review underway of the assessment process for weight limits and the usefulness of the advisory freight map, but it's not reviewing individual schemes. At this time, they're seeking the opinions of the members of the County Council on the appropriate criteria which must be met in order for a weight limit to be considered, and if regulatory measures to restrict lorries from using roads on the local road network should continue to be implemented. And they expect that a wider consultation will be carried out once the members' views have been assessed. So I'll let you know once I get notification of that. The SILCA training course, this is the Certificate in Local Council Administration course that the council resolved I could attend. Obviously wasn't held in the spring, so I've booked onto the one that's going to be held September to December this year. I am still trying to resolve the query regarding the outstanding water bill I have from December 2015. Unfortunately, the water board's records don't go back that far, though they are still trying to get the council to pay for an outstanding bill. So we're still debating the reconciliations of that account. and I have placed the order and now received the minute book and paper, and so the invoice will be included in the authorised payments later on in the meeting. That's me done.
Fine, thank you, Rach. Right, so our next item, 2130. This is to do with the audit.
Excuse me, Graham.
Annual governance.
Could I just ask Nicola a question, please?
You're not really supposed to, because there's no discussion.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was just wondering if Gravelly Way was going to on the list to be repaired. That red, the red stuff at the as you come out the speed restriction. So.
Anyway, she won't answer that, so we'll have to find out later. You'll have to ask her later, honestly. Right, the annual governance and accountability review. So 2131. This is to review the report from the internal auditor. Now, as I understand it, you've all seen this, so we just have to vote to say we've seen it and we approve it, which is pages 1, 2, and 3. Can I have a seconder to confirm that they've seen that? Oh, Anne's hand up. Yeah, okay. Are we all happy to say that we're happy with the internal report or audit? Hands up. Yeah, Peter. Yeah, Laura. Are you happy, Laura?
I abstain because I haven't seen it. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough. Fine. So that's 7 of us. Thank you very much. Right, now the next one gets a bit long and dull because I have to read it out apparently. So this is to approve the annual governance statement. So just bear with me while I call this one up. This is page 4. Right. Can you still see me? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, because you're off my screen. Okay, so this is section 1, annual governance statement. So obviously we acknowledge as members of Hilton Parish Council our responsibility for ensuring that there is a sound system of internal control, including arrangements for the preparation of the accounting statements. We confirm to the best of our knowledge and belief with respect to the accounting statements for the year ending 31st of March 2020 that we have put in place arrangements. Hang on, let's just go a bit larger. Crumbs, bear with me. We put in place arrangements for effective financial management during the year and for the preparation of the accounting statements. Number 2, we maintained an adequate system of internal control, which included measures designed to prevent and detect fraud and corruption and review its effectiveness. We took all reasonable steps to assure ourselves that there are no matters of actual or potential non-compliance with laws, regulations and proper practices that could have a significant financial effect on the ability of this authority to conduct its business or manage its finances. Number 4, we provided proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of electors' rights in accordance with the requirements of the accounts and audit regulations. Number 5, we carried out an assessment of the risks facing this authority and took appropriate steps to manage those risks, including the introduction of internal controls and or external insurance cover where required. Number 6, we maintained throughout the year an adequate and effective system of internal audit of the accounting records and control systems. Number 7, we took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports for internal and external audit. And then moving on to number 8, we considered whether any litigation, liabilities or commitments, events or transactions occurring either during or after the year end have a financial impact on this authority and, where appropriate, have included them in the accounting statements. We are a local council, aren't we? Nicola?
You don't have any trust funds, so that one's actually not applicable.
Okay, we are a local, but we don't have trust funds. Okay, so I need, are we happy that's enough read out? So I just need somebody to, hang on, let's just nip that back. Right, that's gone. Okay, can I have I'm obviously going to have to get that approved. Can I have a seconder, please, for that one? If it's behind my screen, I can't see you. Peter, you're seconding it. Okay. All in favour? Can I have a show of hands? Yep, fine. Thank you very much. Right, and then there's one more of those ones. So moving on to the accounting statement. Again, I'm going to lose you, but hopefully you can still see me. So these are the actual figures that we've got. The That's brought forward. Again, Nicola, do I just need to read out the 2020 really?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, okay. Balance is brought forward, so it's £63,584. Preceptoral rates and levies, 28,620. Total other receipts, 74,125. Staff costs, 7,588. Loans was 0. All other payments, £104,054. Balance is carried forward, £54,687. Number 8, the total value of cash and short-term investments is £54,687, and the total fixed assets plus long-term investments and assets is £250,399, and 0 total borrowing. So just moving down the bottom of that one, Nicola signed that. I certify that for the year ending on 31st of March, the accounting statements in his annual covenants and accountability return have been prepared on either a receipts and payments or income and expenditure basis, following the guidance in governance and accountability for smaller authorities. A practitioner's guide to proper practices, and presents fairly the Financial Business Authority. So it's been signed by Nicola as the financial officer. So we need to approve it. So let's get rid of this one. Bring you all back. Okay. Can I have a seconder that I sign that in due course? So Peter, you're happy with that? Are we all happy to me to sign it? Yeah. Okay. And yeah. Fine. Okay. Thank you very much. That's good. Okay. And then the final part of this AGAR system is the external report. Luckily, I don't need to read this one out. I don't think.
Sorry, Graham, that's not the final part. It's the period of electors' rights is the last one. It's called HPC 19, confirmation of the dates.
Yeah. And where was I had that one? Here. Hang on. Sorry. Thank you for helping me. Yeah. Here we are. Okay. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll get rid of that one. Okay, so this is the confirmation of dates. This is we have 30 days where the audit is posted on notice boards and the website, and the proposed dates that we have are the 13th of July 2020 right through to Friday 21st of August 2020. Now I need to get that seconded. That's the 30 days. Can I have a seconder for that one, please? Peter seconding. All in favour? That's sort of random dates. Fine. Sharon, you okay? Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Okay. Thank you very much. Good. Okay, that's fine. I think. Are you happy with that, Nicola?
Yep.
Good. Okay. Thank you much. Right. Now, item 2131. This is the Local Highways Initiative feasibility study to discuss the results of the June survey and proposal for subsequent survey. And this is obviously brought to us by Anne. So, Anne, fire away.
Okay, hopefully you've all seen both the responses that Nick got through the sort of online Facebook, whatever version of the first survey that we did. But also, and also you've seen the feedback that came to members of the various traffic groups about people's comfort or not with the actual survey document and the procedure. And we've had 13 responses through the system we set up. Many questions were skipped over on those responses. That said, we did get some very positive bits of information and a willingness to help the Hilton Traffic Group, with the feasibility study. But I'm very conscious that the feedback, which was quite explicit, that we've had suggests that it wasn't a very clever survey, it wasn't presented particularly well, and it wasn't accessible to many people because it wasn't a leaflet drop. And there's two things driving me. One is to get a greater response and to make people feel positive about what we're doing. And the second one is to recover what I think is a little bit of lost reputation for the Parish Council, if I could say it. So apologies from me for my part in all of that. But what I would like this evening is I've suggested, with the help of others in the Hilton Traffic Group, a revised survey document where the questions are a bit more explicit. It's got a little bit more of a fulsome introduction, and that we give the background as well as do a paper leaflet drop. Now, I'm not pretending that this version of the survey is brilliant. It's based on a number of ideas that have been pulled together, and I'd really welcome feedback as to what people think of it. And I suppose because we're not meeting next month, on the one hand, I'm anxious that we get out a proper survey that people respect. On the other hand, rushing it obviously didn't work the first time around, so I don't want to fall into the same trap. So your comments, thoughts and ideas, please.
Okay, anybody got anything to say, or shall I start off? I mean, just a nitpick, I counted 14 responses, but I mean that's still, and I think that there are positives to be gained from the survey that we got. Yep. I have to bite my tongue on Facebook because it seems that Facebook was the major contributor. I've got a little thingy bob here, hopefully, just to see that. Yeah, we had on Facebook. So 96 people were reached via the Facebook post, which I think is pretty impressive. And our database is 114 email addresses. So I appreciate that you can't say it's 96 plus 114, but I would say that we did, although we discussed at length about the safety of doing a paper drop, I think that we did reach I don't know what the official mathematic term for significant, but we certainly reached a proportion of the village without doing the paper drop. And I think it shows that Facebook is a pretty good medium now, and our email addresses is pretty good. We got some useful information that I saw on the Excel spreadsheet, and again on that Excel spreadsheet there were opportunities for people to write whatever they wanted. I mean, I appreciate that there were the 7 questions, but there was an opportunity where people could have written things, and we did have one negative about maybe the heading wasn't that clever. It would have required someone to read it before they actually knew what we were talking about, and we did get a separate email about the fact that maybe a paper drop would have been better. But we explained that was a tight one. We did discuss at length whether a paper drop was appropriate, and in a split vote, it went to electronic means only. So I think it's good. I think it's unfortunate. I mean, in most situations, if you don't vote in accordance with instructions, your vote isn't counted. So it's a shame that we didn't get the responses from the negative responses. We didn't get them through the SurveyMonkey. But having said that, we know they're out there, and I don't think we should take them in isolation. But they're to be considered. But I mean, I think we need to take the positives from the survey as a whole. And your hand was up.
Just to say that certainly in my experience, you need a minimum of 25 responses to take any meaningful information from a survey. And I know this wasn't a very sophisticated survey, but 13, 14 responses to me isn't good enough on an issue within the village which people feel quite strongly about, or very strongly about. So I'm anxious that we do access more points of view, even if it's people saying, I can't help, but yeah, great, get on with it. But I'm also very conscious of, if you like, the reputational damage, which won't help the feasibility study or the parish council. So I'm keen that we do something. If people have got better ideas, then I'm willing to listen, but I'm conscious of a time frame.
Okay, Peter?
Sorry, Anne, it's twice you've mentioned now reputational damage. Yeah. To who? Why?
Parish council, because some of the comments, if you spotted them. The
parish council haven't received those comments on their survey, have they?
We have, Peter, just ease it for a minute. We have seen them, and as I said, they should have come in via the SurveyMonkey, and then we could have given them the the weight that maybe they need. It's a strange way that we receive them, but we have received them.
But there's a chicken and an egg there. Some of the comments were about the fact that people couldn't access the online piece for whatever reason. So expecting them to reply through the online mechanism is a non-starter, really. So I don't think we can dismiss them because they didn't use the method that in fact some were complaining about. So I do think we need to pay attention to them. And whether or not we like the method by which they came back to us, those sentiments are out there.
Okay, Heather?
I think lots of people can get confused. We understand the acronyms that we're using on these documents, and when people talk about CCC, they don't necessarily know it stands for Cambridge County Council. So it needs to be really accessible to understand. And people didn't realise we were talking about lorries through the village on the B1040. So it needs to take a step back and just be much more simple to get people to engage with it, and to start off with a few questions which people can easily answer, rather than, if you've lived here for 20 years, do you know what you can contribute? I think we need to be much more explicit about why we're doing this and what we're asking people to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a danger in sending out a survey so soon after the first one came in, especially as I think it's difficult for the 14 people that have responded correctly. I think it's difficult as to how we send out a second survey without the reputation. Again, it shows that we weren't happy with what we did. So I think we need to be careful about how soon we send one out. Just moving on from surveys, I think it's very pertinent to listen to what Nicola mentioned in her clerk's report, and also the email that I think we all received from Laura last month, when they were talking about CCC, Cambridge County Council, and how they are not very happy about weight restrictions to villages because they're hard to enforce and all that sort of business. So it would appear that there is something happening within County Hall, which I would hesitate to send out a second survey or even do too much until we've got some clarification from CCC as to what they intend to do, because it's obviously something is afoot, and if we're not careful, we're going to have a feasibility study which is not worth anything, because they're not going to accept it or enforce it. Anne?
Yeah, a couple of things there. I think on your first point about sending out another survey, I'd much rather put my hand up and say, mea culpa, I didn't get it right that time. We've listened, and this is now something I hope you'll be able to respond to, because part of the rationale behind the survey was to galvanize people's interest in the feasibility study and to genuinely draw on any knowledge or capability that people might have that would help us out, particularly as at the moment the County Council aren't working on it for all the reasons that we know. Secondly, I'm very interested in the review of the AFRM, Advisory Freight Route Map. I've got no sense at all, maybe others might have, as to when they're likely to review it. It would be great to know that, because if it's going to be in the next couple of months, then I could see an argument for delaying another survey and just putting out some sort of statement to say that this is happening, we're waiting to see before we ask any more questions. So do we have any sense of the timing of that review?
Nicola, I presume the last response we had from County Council was that everyone's been put onto different jobs, and I can imagine that things are running somewhat behind schedule.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was going to, because of the sort of the feedback I'm getting from fellow councillors, I feel that there's not much in terms of a direction that we all want to go. So I'm going to suggest that in the interim, we hold fire and maybe get our clerk to find out exactly what's happening at County Council. Oh, Heather, sorry.
Yeah, I'd quite like to get on and do something, but I think if there's 14 people who did respond first time round, we should write to them and just tell them what we are intending doing. I think if we haven't got any indication, 2 months is a long time to wait before we're able to move this on any further.
Okay. Anne?
I wholly agree with that. But in addition to the 14 respondents, getting back to them, which I thoroughly agree we have to do, we really need to get back to a wider community, because others have sent comments, albeit not directly to us. So I do think we need a broader statement to be sent out rather than only to the 14 respondents, which of course they're all important.
Okay. Have you all said your piece about what you feel, and have you heard enough? Do you need to say anything before we take a vote on that? Oh, Ian's coming and going, but as he hasn't heard it, Peter, you're on mute.
Yeah, just unmute. So we heard Anne say earlier on that the questions that she had framed for a repeat survey, she wasn't totally happy with them. So why don't we spend the summer looking at the survey in light of the information we received from Cambridgeshire County Council, and look to frame a more meaningful survey that, because with the first one, we did say we would look at with a view to distributing a paper copy in due course. And hopefully by later this year, we might find that the pandemic is more under control. And therefore that sort of contact would be more appropriate. And we could actually then perhaps look to put a decent survey together, one that, as people have said, has more meaning, is more structured, and we can look at a wider distribution base or a wider way of distributing it. But that will mean it needs to come back to the next parish council meeting that we have, which will be September, I think.
I say it's all well and good for Anne to be very brave and say that she can hold responsibility. She's a member of the parish council. Yeah. We approved it. Okay, it did change the introduction changed slightly, but the questions were the same. So we're all coverable on that one.
Yeah, so let's work with Anne to get it into a decent shape.
Yeah, the one of the problem we had was it was rushed because we wanted to get it out to meet up with lockdown. Bearing in mind what's happening and the next item on the agenda with the 428, I'm all in favour of not rushing, not knee-jerking into a second reaction. And I say I would like to. I don't particularly want to take a vote on whether we send the survey out yet. I'd just like to stall and just say to establish relations or re-establish relations with County Council to find out what they're actually doing in terms of times and whatever, and then bring it back to September. I mean, it's always possible that something's going to happen during the summer. I mean, we're still around. Holidays are perhaps not as prevalent as they were. So I would, I'm going to propose, I can see you, Anne, there, but I think we've okayed there. I'm going to propose that I ask the clerk to re-establish communications with County Council, and that we leave it as is for the time being, and come back in September with a view to doing another survey based on information that we've got over summer. That's my proposal. Is that clear enough, Nicola, or was it a bit of a waffle?
Hang on.
Please don't ask me to repeat it.
So I've got proposed ask the clerk to re-establish comms with CCC and leave survey until after summer. Do you want to reword that?
No, I think I'm happy with that. The basis behind it. Yes, okay. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Peter seconding. All those in favour? Just the two of us. Okay.
Three.
So that's okay. Abstentions. And sorry, Sharon and Laura abstaining. So
and Ian.
So 3 abstentions.
Oh, 3 abstentions, Ian. Yeah. And against? Okay. Now, Rob, what are you doing?
He voted for.
Did he? Oh, sorry, I didn't see. The trouble is, your hands are the same colour as the door. So that must be a 3. Is that a 3 in favour?
That's 3 in favour, 2 against. So that's resolved.
Okay, fine. Narrow one. I take on board.
I think Graham, just I think it's worth to conclude on that because there's quite a lot of conversation in there. I do think, you know, I think there's a lot of uncertainty, so I understand why your proposal was what it was. But I do think it's worth reminding anyone that we can receive information at any time. We don't have to wait to do surveys for people to give us input. You know, and I think I understand some of the feedback that we've had reading through the reports that Anne sent us, but equally I think some people have to take some what's the word? I can't think of an appropriate word to use. I mean, they can't wait for the council to come to them for everything, and I think if people have got views, they should be able to come forward to us rather than waiting for a suitable survey. So I think if people have got comments, you know, we have these meetings monthly, we talk about these things regularly, so I think it's a bit remiss for people to say they haven't heard of it and don't know what we're doing, because we talk about it every month when we get together. So I do think some people need to take some accountability for getting involved rather than waiting for us to come to them with surveys, because I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work, and I think it's slightly unfair to take all the blame on ourselves as a parish council.
Fair enough, understand. Yeah, and you still wish to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of go back to the points made about responding to the 14 respondents, and so I'm, if you like, proposing that I put something together that maybe you and Graham, you and Nick have a look at, and then we get it out there, and that we do a more general notice on our website, maybe on the notice boards, that just details what we're doing, or maybe not detail, but describes in essence what we're doing, what's happening next.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to draft that. And for both of those, I'd suggest we don't wait till September.
No, I mean, I think I can quite comfortably pass it on to Nick. Basically, we're just going to, sorry, Nicola, we're just going to effectively thank the respondents and say that we are reviewing the survey and hope to get back with more news in September, or some words to that effect. Just to let them know it's fine. Good. Okay, thank you very much. Right, so moving on now. By the way, Ian, welcome to our club. You sorted yourself out now, have you? You're on mute, by the way. Okay, right. This is 2132. Now, hopefully you've seen in supporting documents that there was a forum on the A428. Sadly, I don't quite know why, but we missed it first time round. But as you would have seen, the various things have changed, and therefore it's out for another 5-week consultation. And while I was sitting there listening to this, it had some sort of rather interesting reflections on what we'd had with the A14. And I felt that we do need to make some response to try and limit what's happening. I said at the time that I've put down what the changes are, and hopefully they're not too much to be worried about, but I do feel quite ignorant in what the plan actually is at the moment, so I think we need to look at that in a bit more detail. I did ask what the modelling showed about extra traffic coming through Hilton as a result of the 428, and at the time I was concerned that they didn't know. But since then, I've had a very friendly email to explain how it's all coming about and whatever. And the modelling shows that there'll be a very, very small decrease. So effectively, they effectively say there'll be no change as a result of it, which in itself is good news. But there were a couple of alarm bells that went up. One of which is that we did suffer at the time and still suffer with contractors' vehicles coming through the village, and I think that's something we need to be aware of. And also something that I'd missed is that a lot of development is planned for that new A428 corridor. Now development means more houses means more traffic. So I think that's something we need to be aware of. So the proposal that I put in that document was that the old A14 working group should be re-established. Mainly because it's a quick way of establishing a working group, but secondly because we did gain some experience from dealing with these people, and although the consultant is different, the consultants or design people are a different company, HE are still the main people, and during the forum mention was made of how the A14 was done. So it's going to be very much, I think it'll be very much based on what happened with the A14. So what I'm asking is that you accept that the old working group is re-established and that they put in something on our behalf on the basis that we know what may be achievable. Nothing's happened. Whatever we do will be good, better than what we've currently done. And I don't really want to, I'd like us to send it directly rather than coming back to council. Discussion, please. No, Anne, yeah.
I'm delighted that it's in a sense back in the public domain, if you like, and that we have an opportunity to comment on it. Certainly my perspective is how does that affect the local road network and ultimately traffic coming this way, but does it also improve alternative routes excuse me, for HGVs, etc., that would help our case. So as a former member of the A14 group, I'd be happy to be involved.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a good reminder. I've noticed you there, Peter. One of the points they did make was that this should make the Black Cat roundabout a lot better, and therefore people may hopefully be joining the A1 at an earlier point, knowing that they can get through Black Cat without queuing for hours. So there was a bit of a positive on that one. How much of it, it's hard to say, isn't it? But that was mentioned. Peter.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to be part of that, Graham. I think one of the things that I'm thinking about is construction traffic, because obviously if it's coming from St Ives for the new A14, it should have just gone up and down the Lode Road. Now it will have to go down to the A428, won't it? So yes. Does that mean it's just going to be powered through Hilton, or can we at this stage put some influence on them to try to get down the 1198?
I think that's exactly the point, because I think if I learned anything from A14, it's that don't waste your time trying to change the route. It's all the designs and things like that that are the things that really affect you, and that we could have not a better job, but it was interesting to say that there were questions asked by other people, and that chilling response, we haven't got the detail for that, we're still working on that, the design's not there. You think it's exactly the problems that we had, that we couldn't comment on the design because you hadn't done it. But that's why I say I think we need to act on that. And yes, I'm of the same opinion that stuff in St Ives, gravel lorries, dump lorries, cement lorries could all come down there. Although I'm wondering whether they'll try and keep the compound open at the animal place, Wood Green, and down 1198. But that's something that and of course, if they do get a statement that there's no traffic coming through Hilton, then contractors can price it accordingly. So it does need to be put in now rather than later. So that was another one of the issues to be discussed.
Yeah.
So can I have a resolution that...
Sorry, Graham, can I just point out that you can't delegate the decision to a working group. You could delegate to an officer to take the recommendation of the working group.
Okay, so in practice, that means that we can discuss it as a working group, but we'd have to call a meeting.
No, you can ask an officer to make the decision for you.
An officer being?
Me or Ian. They are your only officers.
Right.
So I'm the proper officer, Ian being the Green Open Spaces officer.
Right. So if you were at our working group meeting, could we instruct you to write a letter?
Yes.
And send it.
If that's the resolution of the council, that the proper officer is going to send a letter on the recommendation of the A14 working group.
Fine, I've got that. Right. I'm now going to propose. Oh, sorry, Laura.
Sorry, guys. Is this a recommendation? Is this a letter saying what our comments are on the consultation, basically?
Yes. Yeah. We will look at what's happening with the 428 and come up with various comments and suggestions as to how it can minimise the impact on Hilton. Heather?
So does that mean the council see the letter or not? Does it come to a meeting at all?
It won't come to a meeting at all. No, mainly because of the time. I mean, the theory, because that there's an issue on time, but I'm hoping that you'll accept that whatever we do is better than what we've done, and that the working group has had experience, and so should get the best deal, hopefully, if anything can be achieved. Peter?
The letter will, of course, be released to the council. In the day of the A14 working group, when we had to submit comments to the planning inspectorate, the councillors, we talked about what we were after, or what we thought. So at this point we gave our thoughts, and then that was put into a letter form and submitted to the planning inspectorate at the same time as released to the parish as to what we'd done.
Yes, it was released. Sorry, yes, you will get to see it, but it wasn't released for approval, was it?
No, it was released as a letter sent.
As a done deal.
Because we discussed at the meeting, so at this meeting, we've discussed that we want to try and ensure that there are some mitigation for increased traffic volume, potential increased traffic volumes through Hilton.
Yeah.
We want an undertaking that they'll look to ensuring that there isn't an increase of construction traffic through the village.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be fair. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, and anything else that the working group might discuss or think of.
Yeah. And Laura's got a hand up.
I know. I was just thinking, we need to be careful. That's not the only two things that we got permission on. Once we get into chat mode, someone else. I mean, it wasn't until Friday that I discovered all these things could be an influence, and someone else, when we look at the overall plan, might see some other issue that might affect us. So yeah, whatever. Laura, sorry.
I'm in favour of the Parish Council commenting and providing comments on the consultation rather than doing nothing, because I think I've raised it at previous meetings that we should be doing that. My only comment, I suppose, is that previously, quite often, working groups have not been allowed to do anything without coming back to the council or holding an extraordinary meeting. So I'm not quite sure why it's different on this case, but that's just my only comment, that historically we've never gone down that route.
It's different in this case because I've just been reminded that we're actually passing it on to a proper officer, and there's two officers, Nicola being one of them. So we're actually passing it on to Nicola, which makes it all the more better, I believe. Is that correct, Nicola?
The council can only delegate decision-making powers to either an officer or a committee. So you can't delegate the decision to a working group.
So the working group will come up with the recommendation, and then the proper officer will do the work. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the proposal. I know it's not ideal, but I think it's going to be the most expedient. Are you happy that we do that based on what we've heard tonight? That's the proposal. Can I second it, please?
Sorry, a question. When is the review deadline?
I can't remember offhand. It's on the documents. 26th of July.
Sorry.
Something like that.
28th.
28th.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you.
Not bad guesswork. So we've got a few weeks to think about it, make inquiries. Peter?
Can I just make a suggestion to anybody, if they've got any thoughts, any points they want, is that they send them to Nicola and she can share it with.
Absolutely.
Share them with the group.
I don't think we'll just have one meeting. I think we'll have various. And if we find that we are struggling, we can always come back. But I think, yeah, Anne?
Membership of the 14 group, perhaps if we remind people who was on the previous working group, and whether others who have joined since as parish councillors might want to join that working group.
I'm trying to keep it to the old A14 group, specifically because of the experience we gained first time round. It was quite a learning curve, and I think I want to build on that. But it was myself, Peter, you, Kieran, Patrick Nanducci, Richard Norton, and Mark Stanton. So there was the seven of us, which is a fair mix. And I think, well, that's the proposal, that we have the meetings as a working group. Nicola's present. A letter is produced to get the best mitigation or the best deal that we can for Hilton. And the letter will be published in the usual manner for all to see. That's the proposal. Can I second it, please? Heather, thank you. Yeah. All in favour? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Fine. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. That's excellent. Good. Okay. Right. 33. Discuss. Oh yes, this is an item carried over from the last meeting. Discuss and decide upon actions to achieve compliance with website content and accessibility guidelines in accordance with etc. websites. We've got in supporting documents, we've got the various quotes and the various companies. the various good bits and bad bits. Last meeting we chatted about this and couldn't decide, so we we sent our dear clerk away to get some more information, which she duly did. And unlike airplane seats and everything else, as the date got nearer, the price went down. Normally the price went up or goes up, but for some reason the prices have gone down. That may be that more players have come into the market. We don't need to know about that, but you have in front of you three quotes. Now the detail behind the quotes is in supporting documents, but also there's a PowerPoint presentation which I think if you've read the most of it, you should just be able to work from the summary. Is that a fair assumption? We've got 3 quotes there. Again, I don't think we should be mentioning the 3 headings, or are we allowed to, Nicola? Because it's quite tricky to not.
The quote, I put that document onto the website in the supporting documents because it's a quote and it's mentioned as quote A, B, and C.
Okay, so A for something and then we go right through. Okay, so I'm looking at the blue summary, WCAG. That's the summary of all the information. I mean, obviously, if you want more information, it's in the big quotes behind. But I think looking at it, the last one, quote C, is the one that is more attractive. Also, Nicola's been talking to them, getting a good sort of communication with them, and obviously, Nicola being our website user or holder, what do you call it, domain, whatever?
Administrator?
That's the word I'm looking for, the website administrator. It's important that she's happy to work with whoever. And also price-wise is quite good. There's just one question that I've got, which is the government domain. Do you actually need that, or is that just a way of being better?
No, you don't have to have it, but it's an option that's available to you.
Right.
As a parish council, you're entitled to have a .gov domain, should you so wish.
Which is no particular reason, I imagine.
No, it just gives you an air of legitimacy. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Was it Rob? Did you shout at me?
Yeah. Shout. I wasn't shouting. I did call out.
Voice, sorry.
One question I had for everyone is, obviously these suggest they include email. Is that email addresses? Could we save by not having the Microsoft account and use these to? I know it's not a significant amount, but it would offset the yearly fee if that were the case, wouldn't it?
We could revert back to the standard business account. We still need a Microsoft account because that allows me to use the Microsoft products on this computer, but you wouldn't need the Microsoft Pro, which is what allows us to use the email.
Yeah, what would that save us? I'm just thinking that might offset some of this incremental cost.
About £2 a month. £1.50 a month, perhaps.
And this cost us what, £37.50 a year, so half that, give or take. Tight, so much spending money.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I say there are various examples of the other parishes that are working with these companies. I mean, I don't know whether it's something that we feel strongly about. I have a feeling it's going to be a case of suck it and see. Time flies by quite quickly. If we sign up for a year or 2 contract, I don't think it'll be long before that year or 2 contracts up and we can see how it's working. The important thing is that we do need to show that we are doing what we can to be compliant.
Wasn't the main bit of the costing the actual initial doing up the website rather than the ongoing maintenance?
I missed the start of that, Laura, sorry.
The main bulk of the cost, or the main bulk of the work, was to redo the current website so they meet the criteria rather than ongoing work on it.
Yes. That will be the setup cost, won't it? So 659 is the setup cost. But then you see you've got the annual costs, which are less for the last one. So yeah, I mean, I think that the recommendation from us or from this side is that it's quote C 649228, and then it's a question, if you're okay with that, it's a question of whether we want to go for the the .gov domain.
Can I ask what's the difference between the annual cost and the ongoing compliance monitoring? Does the annual thing not involve, isn't that what the annual cost is for?
No, the annual cost is for hosting the website.
Oh, okay, it's the host cost.
And they do offer maintenance. They will ensure that the theme of the website, the framework of the website is compliant, but the ongoing compliance is about the content that I upload, and the quarterly report will detail whether the content is compliant and any links that I've added, any buttons I've added, are they compliant with the regs?
Yes, because quote A is quite a significant cost, isn't it? That's the £300
Yeah.
for 4 reports. I think we need to be mindful of the size of our business and try and minimise the costs. Certainly,
I agree.
As we start off, because there'll be lots of parishes who I imagine aren't quite as on the ball as we are. So as long as we're not, bottom of the pile, I think we can be content that we're doing whatever we can to be compliant.
It's worth noting that all of the packages do include training for me as the administrator in maintaining compliance and what I would need to do to documents or buttons or links to ensure they were compliant going forward.
Okay. And I imagine that this will be tough to start off with, but then should get easier because we generally put the same things on. We put similar things on the website. So once you're confident about how they're done, then that should become easy. Okay. Ian, welcome. You have to unmute first of all. That's it. Yeah. Hi.
I'm back. Is that ongoing training, Nicola, or is it just training at the start of the whole thing?
It's training at the start of the whole thing. Though the SLCC do a webinar on compliance and how to achieve it. That's £30 if you wanted to go down that road.
Okay.
I mean, talking to quote C, are we tied in for any sort of particular period of time? I suppose the risk is that if we did change companies, the new company would then want another setup fee, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we are kind of, I wouldn't say burning our boats, but we are committing for a certain period of time, aren't we? Yeah. Anne?
From what I read, the provider C has a good reputation and is particularly popular in local councils. Is that right?
That's as I understand it, yes. Sorry, Nicholas spoke to them.
I mean, I know they're blowing their own trumpet in a way, but that felt to me a good way forward. And given that they are cheaper than the others, I suppose the other comment I would make is that the way they describe what they do was far more idiot friendly, talking about myself. It was very easy to understand. It was in language that, was accessible, I think, to anyone. And if that's a model of how they do stuff, don't overcomplicate. I thought they presented a good quote.
Good, thank you. Okay. Okay, anybody wish to add any comments? Okie dokes. So then the proposal is that we go with company C to update our website and make it compliant. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Oh, that's Heather. I think you and Anne were neck and neck, but we'll go with Heather. All in favour, please? Can I show of hands? Fine. Thank you very much. That's good. Okay, so hopefully that can be done. That gives you something to do over summer, Nicola, isn't it?
Thanks.
Right, moving on.
Do you want to just address the question of the .gov domain?
Oh, sorry. Yes, good point. How do we feel about having a .gov domain? Are we big enough for that? Do we care? Do we mind?
No.
Could we be accused of spending money unnecessarily?
Absolutely.
Discuss.
Don't have it.
We don't give a monkeys, really, do we?
I don't think we need it, do we?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, unless I'm going to pass it to Nicola, unless SLCC recommend it, or
Not as far as I'm aware.
no. Okay. Well, we can always, I presume, add it it may cost us more if we add it later on, but if we find that we're missing out on something, I think we are spending a lot of money, and if we're going to spend a bit more money just to make us look a bit better, I think it's the content should speak for itself rather than the website. So I ought to perhaps take a vote on that. So we're taking the quote as setup fee, but we will not be going for the .gov domain. That's my proposal. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Yeah, Ian. So we're not going to the .gov. All in favour? Yeah, fine. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for a reminder. Okay, so moving on. Right, 2134, something a lot more local. Discuss and decide whether to open the playground and decide upon the actions necessary, e.g. risk assessments and signage. Well, you'll be aware that lockdown has been relaxed. I wouldn't say that it's gone, it's been relaxed. And as I understand it, public playgrounds are permitted to open subject to the operator or the owner or whoever doing it, the appropriate risk assessments. Now, in the supporting documents, you've seen the sort of things that may be required, physical things, and also, well, they're all physical, but physical things to the playground, but also lots of notes. And so I think if we take this at a two-stage thing, whether we want, well, it's all one, isn't it? It needs to be approved to open, but with the risk assessment. So, discussion. Anybody got any strong feelings, Laura?
I saw some signage from HDC, so District Council Playgrounds, and also Cambridge City Council Playgrounds, and they're reopening. They had just sort of a basic sign, really, saying that their playgrounds were open, to remind people to social distance. I'm not sure if they had hand sanitizer available, but they reminded people to use hand sanitizer before and after using the park equipment, and just to remind people that if they arrived at the park and it was busy, to come back later and another time. And there was no limitations on numbers. It allowed people to use their own judgment of the 1 metre plus social distancing that is in place.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody? Yes, Sharon, you've been very kind. I'm going to pick on you as our key worker and the beleaguered NHS. Any strong feelings either way? You can just say no. It's fine. I just saw you falling asleep there, so I thought I'd try and wake you up.
No, it's all right. I do think it would be good to open it with those sort of posters saying, these are the recommendations or regulations under which we're reopening the park. I think providing hand sanitizer would probably be really difficult because it will get stolen, and because it does from hospital, so we can't leave that out at all. And also there's a risk if children ingest it, then we'd be responsible, wouldn't we? So I think people have got to take their own responsibility for the numbers, and if we put a sign up saying maximum number of 6 children in this park at this time, then it's up to the parents to respect that. But I think if we've put up the signs, then as a parish council, I don't think we can police it. And obviously if we saw lots of children in there, then we'd have to, and if you were passing, you could mention it. But it's like the public areas, public playgrounds, you can't really police those areas, can you?
No, exactly. Peter?
I was doing a little bit digging around. Now, according to Huntingdon District Council, their play parks are still closed. They haven't announced reopening, neither of South Cambs. Papworth have got a nice little note up that says the Parish Council have undertaken a risk assessment and will be putting measures in place to ensure the play area and other things can be used by all in the safest manner as possible. There are likely to be limits on the number of children allowed on the piece of equipment at one time, and clear signage will be displayed with reminders of social distancing rules to be adhered to. This is likely to take several days to complete, and therefore the play area and other areas will remain closed for use and equipment taped off until the necessary steps have been taken. So I wondered if it would be worth going down to Papworth, having a look to see what they've done, and sort of migrate those things in here to Hilton.
HTC, I definitely saw posters advertising their park would be reopening. And I sent a poster to Nicola with that, so I think they have, or they have. The plan was to reopen them.
On their website says they're closed still,
but I think
that could be in need of updating.
Yeah, but I think you're right. It's initially, if no one said no, we mustn't open it. So I mean, assuming that we're happy to open it with some kind of risk assessment and notices and whatever, date to be testified. I think then we can start off by putting it on the website and Facebook saying that we are looking at a risk assessment. People will be producing the necessary documents, and those documents can also be put on the playground. They ought to go on Facebook, and the finished risk assessment document should be on our domains, so that parents see what's required before they go down to the playground and find that there's something they didn't know. So before the playground opens, I would suggest that the risk assessment is published on our social media. Laura, are you still?
I was just going to say, does our risk assessment, does that include someone doing a physical maintenance check of the park before it reopens? Because that was the only other thing I saw that other parks were doing, to check all the equipment was still in good working order and stuff.
I mean, bearing in mind it hasn't been used for 3 months. Yes,
yeah.
we can do that, but that's, as you say, that's not COVID related, but it's all part of who knows.
It will be part of the risk assessment of reopening, but yeah.
There'll be two separate risk assessments. One is the basic maintenance check of the playground, and the second one is the actual COVID risk assessment.
Yeah.
Heather.
I'm in favour of it opening as soon as possible. I think I've seen children walking past looking very wistfully at this brand new equipment and not being able to use it. So it'd be great to open it really quickly. I agree about the sign. I think you leave it up to parents and carers to work out what's the right thing to do, just be advisory about it.
And also, can I just say, you know, the research is saying that children have got one of the lowest rates of catching COVID, and it's more really the adults that are probably more at risk. But I'm also in favour of opening it, especially as we come up to the summer holidays. And I think it would be good if we could get the risk assessments done and then open it and advertise it on Facebook or the, you know, and the website as well, in time for the summer holidays, or, you know, as soon as possible.
Yeah. Anne?
Just one a kind of additional thought. I agree with all of that. Is ongoing maintenance. I mean, are we suggesting that, you know, some talk about cleaning the equipment regularly. So is one of us going to go around the playground and clean all the play equipment once a day, once a week, once or whatever? I mean, are we taking that step as well?
Well, I can bounce that back to the people who will be doing risk assessment. That's going to come up later.
Yeah.
Stand by for volunteers. But from a personal point of view, I think that's unreasonable, because so much of the equipment is wood, so much of it is rope. I appreciate that you can clean down a nice slide, but I think there's so much there that is uncleanable to a decent standard. I think it's not worth doing that. If we chose to do it occasionally, that would be a good thing, but I wouldn't advertise the fact that we are doing it. I would pass it back to parents to say, don't touch your child until he's taken it home and washed it. Perhaps.
Can I just say that I think most parents, you know, are carrying wipes and antibac in their bags all the time, aren't they? So I actually think, you know, parents will be responsible and clean their children's hands before going in, you know, or certainly coming out after touching the park. So I don't, and you know, it's outdoors, so I don't think it's like you say, I don't think there's an obligation for the parish council to clean the equipment. It's I think it's more up to parents if they you know, want to clean where their children are going to be playing. I think most parents carry antibac everywhere now, don't they?
Yeah.
So that would suggest we do need to say that, you know, to a large extent it's at your own risk and to be sensible.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, is that all?
Just one other comment.
Yeah.
Do we group the maze with the play park? Because we need to think about that as well. That has been roped off.
Is that why it's been roped off?
Yeah.
Ah,
If we go back to when we closed the play park,
yes.
I suggested at the time, I said, hang on a minute, the maze is in effect a play park. We ought to use the same legislation to close that. And that's what we did.
Okay. Well, in that case, maybe we could put a similar, maybe smaller, because it's not going to be, I don't think the notice will be quite so detailed for the maze. Perhaps an abridged version.
I agree.
Could go on the board, maybe,
Yep.
the little signboard. Because let's face it, it's only distance, and also maybe don't touch Sparrow's Monument, perhaps. But with it being an absorbent surface, what's the name of the virus, Ian? What's it got around it? Encapsulated, is it?
Well, it's got a lipid membrane around it.
Yes, a lipid membrane, and therefore the stone will absorb that quite readily, I believe. But anyway, now I would like to suggest that Nicola is involved in the risk assessment, because obviously there's a lot of information coming through from Calc and SLCC and whatever. So that's going to put her in the frame. I was going to suggest Ian because of the green, and I know he's got a laminator.
I did test the PC one, and it does work.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, Ian, you've now been made redundant, but you're welcome to be on the website on the working group. You to do the risk assessment. Do we feel two's enough? Does anybody else want to get involved? No. Okay, then are you okay?
I'm happy to help if you want.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Are you okay, Ian? I can't dump you in there. You okay, Ian?
That's good to hear from my point of view, because I've got a limited number of days over the next 10 days that I shall be available.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
Well, then, Peter, how you? Well, perhaps if you could sort of help.
Yeah, just let me know. Let me know when you want me to do.
Brilliant. Okay, let's do it that way.
Okay. So the general. I need to just take a. Sorry, Heather. Is it ready?
What's the timescale? When are we going to try to?
Yeah. Obviously, if Ian's busy, I mean, I think the general consensus is that it would like to be open as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We need to get things done in a calm manner. Is a week okay for the three of you? I appreciate, Ian, you haven't got much time, but whether you could feed key information to Peter.
Yep. Yep. We'll do.
Nicola, I don't know how busy you are. How's homeschool going?
It's a little crazy. Could we have a fortnight, please?
What do you think? Yeah. I mean, it gives us more time to clean the playground down.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have a stall notice on the website by saying that we are looking. We could say we are going to open it in a fortnight's time, and we are currently doing risk assessment. So at least it gives people something to look forward to, and also Sparrow, the maze will be open at that time as well. Laura,
we need a fortnight to open the maze. Can we not reopen the maze without a risk assessment? I mean, what's there's no equipment on the maze. It's an outdoor space. It's no different from children running around together on the green.
I agree.
Seems a bit overkill to me. But.
Yeah, I would agree, because actually lots of families have been using the picnic tables and the benches on the greens. So actually, I think that you're absolutely right, Laura. I think there's no delay. I thought the maze was fenced off because it normally is leading up to Beasley, but
it's Easter when it normally is has the rope removed.
Well, so
I agree. I don't think you need a risk assessment for the maze, do you? Because it is just an open space. You probably therefore don't need a notice outside either. Just it's no different to people sitting on the benches. And I think if you start that, it's where do you stop? I understand the play park because it's an enclosed area with equipment. But I think if we don't overcomplicate it, really, I think I suggest just open the maze, which is no different to the benches or anything near it. It's up to the advice from the government is there. It's an open space. It should be adhered to. And then, but the play park is slightly different because it is a park, and we probably just wanted to put a notice up to remind people.
Okay. You don't feel that the maze is open to all, and therefore you might get more than one family on the maze at a time. I appreciate the bench.
But that's no different to them gathering on the green, sitting around the picnic benches or anything today, is it?
And you're allowed more than one family together as well, so it's not against the regulation.
No.
Okay, well I'll take a vote on that then. So the proposal is that we open the maze as soon as possible. Now, are we saying like tomorrow because we're not going to do any notices?
Yeah.
Or do we go for a week? Yeah, Ian, you got any comment there from your technical point of view?
No, I'm quite happy.
Okay, quite nice. So the proposal is we open the maze tomorrow, or request it's open tomorrow without any documents. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Are you seconding that, Heather? Or are you? Yeah, okay, so Heather's seconding it. All in favour? Can we go for that one? Fine, okay, so Maze will be opened as soon as possible. Can I ask Ian, can you get hold of John to do that? Or
Yep, yeah.
fine, okay. Then moving on to the other one, which is more complicated. The request has been that we allow ourselves 2 weeks to get that done properly, because there are more risks involved, and it may involve some physical work within the park itself, removing swings, and whether we fence off the house. There are issues there. So we can still put a note on the website to say that we are looking at the risk assessment. So the proposal there is we have 2 weeks to come up with risk assessment. So it will be opened. Whether I can push Nicola to make it Saturday, so it's not quite a fortnight.
Summer holidays.
That'll be the 18th. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So we'll go for Saturday the 18th. Are you seconding that,
Sorry,
Sharon?
Graham. Did you just say remove swings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered about that. Why are we fencing bits off?
Why would we do that?
Ooh, it was in it. It was in
swings more than a metre apart.
Yeah.
But if removing them means that anyone that goes on their own can't use them, doesn't it?
Removing one swing. At the moment, we've got 3 swings.
Yeah, but if you go with your own family, you could have 3 children and use the 3 swings, and you don't have to be a metre apart. It seems a bit excessive to remove swings. Let people realise we will have to stay a metre apart. People can use that judgment and they can be sensible. I don't think we have to nanny them and say, right, we're going to remove things so they can't do it.
Oh, we're passing that on to the 3 of them. The 3 members are going to look at the risk assessment based on your comments. I'm sure they'll take them on board. So have a look at that. Have a think about that.
Yeah.
And also, we have to remember that families, 2 households can meet. So you could have 2 families, who could fill the park at meetings. So actually, and that's allowed. So I think, I think we should leave all the equipment just as it is.
Okay. Well, the 3 of you have heard that, so that's fine. So the proposal is risk assessment is done by Nicola, Peter, and Ian. And on the website, we'll say that it will be opening on the 18th of July. So can I have a second of that, please? Okay, Sharon seconding. All in favour? All in favour? Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's good. Okay. Right. That's good. Right, I'm just checking this. Right, so 2135, discuss and decide upon whether to end the local area volunteers element of the coronavirus scheme. Now, this was where we had the local people, up to 17 people, one volunteer, up to 17 people looking out for them physically. The suggestion now is that we've passed the worst stage, and therefore we can ask them to stand down. And that they don't need to traipse around their area looking for pillowcases and signs of milk or whatever outside. And it will go back to a more simple system where if they need help, they will phone the clerk and the clerk will summon up the old volunteer. I think it's important that we do put an end to it, otherwise it could go on for forever. So I think we've come to that stage now where we can very kindly ask our volunteers to stand down. So that's a suggestion. Anyone wish to add anything?
Not really.
Okay, that's good. Oh, Ian?
Do it.
Yeah. Peter?
I was just going to say that people that you are volunteering for obviously have your contact and will contact you if they need help, or you contact them if you're going shopping. So that bit can carry on, can't it?
Yes, I mean,
on an individual basis.
Yep, I would just put in there that Nicola has had calls direct, because maybe somebody hasn't had a volunteer and suddenly found themselves in trouble.
Or several of the volunteers have gone back to work.
Yes, so yes. So maybe we need to have an update of those that are available. But I mean, I think things are much easier now in terms of deliveries and whatever. So I think the need has been relaxed. So if we take it one step at a time, and that will be to suggest or ask volunteers that they no longer need to travel their area to keep an eye on people, and that will be the recommendation. Can I have a second of that, please? I'm happy to relax it. Peter, you are first up. All in favour? And a show of hands. Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's good to keep your hands up because it takes a long time to scan all the photos. Oh, Darren's gone. Right. Okay. So moving on to the next one. At some point, I get a break, don't I?
About now.
About now.
Discuss and decide upon appointing a volunteer maintenance person. Right. So Kieran's not here, so I've asked Ian to look after this one. I'm going to nip into the waiting room, and then I'll rejoin you for 2137. So I'll leave you in the hands of Ian. Thank you very much.
Okay, don't go for long. As you're aware, we've been trying to appoint somebody, a maintenance person, for quite a while now, and various reasons it's not come to be. Graham has seen this, and Graham has offered himself on a voluntary basis. Should we say we're looking upon it as an ongoing situation, that he will do it for the time being. The idea is that the advert will come down at this stage, but then probably that advert will go back up in a few months' time. Not because we'll have seen that Graham's not very good, but because we do really want to have a permanent person on a paid basis doing that role. So it's on that footing that Graham has put himself forward to act as our volunteer maintenance person. Any thoughts? Any questions? What I would just quickly add is that he has been interviewed. Nicola and I interviewed him last Thursday. I thought it was going to be a 3-minute interview. It turned out to be 40 minutes. So we did discuss an awful lot, and he's, as I say, very, very happy with what we discussed. Anne, you had a...
Just to say, I think it's a good idea. We know he's good at it,
Yep.
out and about a lot. So I'd welcome that.
Super. No, nice to hear.
Yeah, I also would welcome that. I think it's a great idea. I just wondered if Graham or any of the councillors as we are parish councillors, could we apply for the paid position, or is that not allowed?
Against the rules, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to be paid by the council while you're a councillor or for 12 months thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, he'll be able to claim expenses for, wood and whatever.
All the purchases will have to come through me because he can't use his own personal credit.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you.
So I say it looks pretty straightforward from my point of view. There's lots of smiles and lots of nodding of head. So the proposal is that we do appoint Graham as a volunteer maintenance person. Could I have a seconder, please? Good. I think, Heather, you were just in there. So all those in favour, please. Brilliant.
Could I just ask, did we get anybody showing any interest at all for the position?
No.
No applicants at all, right? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Super. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Ian.
Should we let him back in? Oh, go on then.
Unmute. Right. Okay. Thank you much. Back in the room.
Well, we might as well put you out of your misery, Graham.
Well,
we did say yes.
So you want to put me into misery? Thank you very much.
No, and thank you very much for putting your name forward. Brilliant. Everyone really smiled and nodded heads, so it's good. Well done.
Great. Well, I hope it works out. So yeah, it's good. So I look forward to all sorts of tasks, interesting tasks. That's good. Thank you. Right, discuss upon later. Okay, so 2137. This is the optimum card that we have at the moment. This is the card that has money on it. which Nicola can spend on various emergencies. They've now decided they're going to charge us a fee, and the fee is £2 a month, £1.99. And Nicola's very kindly given us or suggested 3 alternatives. Now, I have no experience of any of these cards, so I mean, to me, the one that offers the free package, I don't imagine we'd ever get any use of ATMs. Nicola, do we ever get any cash out?
I haven't done thus far. The only thing that I could possibly conceive of getting cash out for would be a float for the fireworks.
Okay, but that would just be a one-off fee, wouldn't it? It's not really dependent on how much you take out. Does anyone have experience of these cards at all?
No.
No? Okay. So, I mean, the Optimum cards worked okay, but it's going to cost us £24 a year. I presume we're not signing up for X amount of time. So, I mean, if we move to how do you pronounce that? FX?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Actually, sorry, I forgot I have used Fairfax, and it's then it's fine. Actually, I've also got Revolut card, but they're very easy to use.
Okay. Well, based on Sharon's recommendation, I'm going to propose. I mean, are you okay, Nicola? Because obviously it relies on you to use the card.
Yeah.
Are you okay to go for Fairfax?
Yep.
Fine. Okay. That's the proposal then, that we'll change from Optimum to Fairfax. Is it Fairfax or whatever? Let's go for Fairfax. It's easier to say. And we'll stick with that until they give us a £2 fee. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Yeah, Sharon, thank you much. All in favour? Raise of hands. Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. That's good. So that's that one done. So let's just get you out of the way. Crawl back to the agenda. Right. Okay, this is the one that Andy mentioned at the beginning. Now, you will recall that right back at the beginning when we had Zoom, we were concerned about people joining us who we didn't particularly need to join us, and therefore all they needed to do was just ask Nicola for a link and they would get it, and it's worked quite well. But we've had guidance from various people that that's not in the spirit of open meetings, and indeed SLCC told us that they couldn't support any parish that was doing that sort of thing. So we are, I think, obliged to put our meeting details out in the public domain. How we do it, there is something there that says that we could do it at 24 hours notice. You know, it needn't go out with the agenda, but that's more work for Nicola. There are various safeguards which Andy mentioned, and there may be other ones. It's a question of whether it becomes a problem. Nicola, as I understand it, you have the ability to get rid of videos at short notice.
Well, a bit like from your recent experience, you can get bumped into the waiting room fairly quickly.
Pretty quickly, yes. I mean, as long as you can see something's about to happen, then you need to just keep your eyes on it. So there are some safeguards, Pence. I mean, I presume how quickly Zoom bombers can do what they need to, I don't know. But I mean, it's I suppose it's the risk of modern life, isn't it? But we really are being given strong direction that we need to do that. Anybody wish to make a comment? Anne?
I'm just concerned about the risk. There's so much happening online these days. It does seem to me that hackers and whatever you call these folk are growing in number and enthusiasm. And I would just have a concern that we're opening ourselves up.
Okay, thank you much.
Unnecessarily.
Sorry, Heather?
I think that if we have a meeting in the village hall, anybody could walk in, anybody could shout and be disruptive. We manage that situation in the same way as we would do on Zoom and just put them in a waiting room. Given the guidance we've had, I don't really see we've got any choice but to make it as a public meeting for anybody to attend, and we manage that risk later on.
My only, oh sorry, Laura.
I wonder if it might be something that encourages more attendance, because people can just sit in their own home and just click a link and join in the meeting, maybe with their video off. I don't think you have to have your video on. So it might, I don't know if it has so far on the meetings you've already had, it doesn't seem like it, but it might be a way that more people would be interested to listen into a meeting.
I think at the moment it's easier to ask Nicola, because you send an email and you get a link back. what they're proposing is that the link numbers would actually be on the agenda, and therefore you've got to manually type them in. So I mean, it's by far the easiest is to ask for the link, but the requirement is that the access codes are printed. So
but you don't have to type in the website address. You can just put in the numbers. You don't have to type in the address. So it's not a difficult.
No, but I think either's whatever. I'm looking for guidance here as to whether we open ourselves up to a problem, whether Zoom bombers then get our own addresses and cause trouble to us later. But that's something we just have to address, I suppose. Sorry, Heather.
Some of the other parish councils which were advertised on Company C have already been putting their Zoom codes on, and it doesn't seem to be causing them problems looking at their minutes.
No, I spoke to a parish council chairman who they do have the numbers printed for all. They haven't had any problems, but he did say it was with interpretation that he has the meetings because he never knows who's going to join. So from that point of view, it's a bit of an unknown. But yeah, I know people are doing it, and so from your point of view, the recommendation is to Peter. Sorry,
I was just wondering when that last advice was given. Was that given in the 12th of May? Because at the bottom of that adding Zoom link, it says 12th of May.
We had when did we have that meeting? Sorry, that's the NAUC booklet. So that booklet was issued following the guidance update on the 12th of May, but this email from Penny was received more recently.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I was just going to say I agree with Heather that we could have any sort of disruption coming in the village hall, and actually it's much easier to control disruptive behaviour by just clicking people off on a Zoom. So Nicola's more in control of a Zoom meeting than actually something in the village hall.
Yeah. Laura, is you okay?
I just wondered if you can limit attendees to make sure that they don't join with their video or sound on. Apart from the people, can you limit it by attendee to start with?
They are currently limited, so they are muted when they join.
And you have control of that?
What about
I can't.
video?
No, the Zoom have removed that ability for the host to control who's muted and who's not. So I no longer have the ability to mute and unmute people.
Right, but you can take them out of the room.
But I can remove them from the room.
Right. Andy, your hand's up. As this is your subject.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say. I mean, you all appreciate the only difference is that people wandering in and out of the village hall have to be pretty local. Those Chinese, Australian, Singaporeans that are Zoom bombing is much easier for them to do. But on the counter, so it's not quite the same analogy to say that anybody can come in and out, because there are Zoom bombers that are trawling the internet through the normal mechanisms to find Zoom accounts. It is very rare for English parish councils to be hit. I think it's one Will for the WHA and all those others that do. So I think the controls are there. Personal recommendation would be that the Nicola's control of the meeting is pretty good. The risks are very, very low to for anybody to come in, and I think to put in extra restrictions does go against the open governance policy. So
helpful.
I think Zoom's got enough controls to stop anything major happening, and the risks are incredibly low. But it isn't the same as wandering to the village hall. It is a global issue. It's a bit like the problems we had with notice boards on the websites and things, is that you're going to get people coming in anonymously and doing all sorts of things, which on a global web basis is different to those people coming up to a meeting in the village. So, anyway.
Okay, so taking on board the comments that we've heard, the proposal is that we do in fact add links onto our agenda in line with what SLCC recommended. Kind of a second to that, please. Yeah, Heather, thank you very much. All in favour? Are we raising our hands? Okay, fine. And Peter, you abstaining or are you going against? Are you going with us? Okay, your hand wasn't.
No, I'm going against.
You're going against. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Right. Okay. So that's 7-1. Thank you very much. Okay. Right now, item 2139. This is about councillors' items. This was raised by Kieran. If I can get a seconder for this and a majority decision, I'm bearing in mind the time or else is coming along. I'm going to suggest we bump that to another meeting. Proposal is that we delay that one for next meeting. Can I have a seconder for that one, please? Laura, thank you very much. All in favour of delay to that item? Raise hands. Fine. Okay, thank you very much. That's unanimous. Right, so 2140, discuss and decide upon the amendments to the media policy to include communications by the clerk to Hilton parishioners. At the moment, Nicola can do all sorts of things with the website and Facebook at her discretion, but email wasn't included on that list of things that she's permitted to do. So the suggestion is that if we add email, so she can send out to our database, she can send out things that she feels are appropriate. We haven't had any complaints that I'm aware of things that are being sent out on Facebook and website. So proven track record so far. Anybody have a problem? Anne?
No, I've got no problem with it. I just, as we have some email addresses and Facebook and so on, why don't we just ask people?
Ask people.
Well, if that's what they want.
Well, the thing is that I presume that when they put their information on the database, it was for us to send out things then that we felt was appropriate. For instance, the survey went out.
Just do it then.
So I mean, it's but previously, you see, that was at the last meeting. We had to agree that we were going to allow Nicola to send out emails on the database. Yep. If this policy had been in place, we could have just said away and do it, and we wouldn't have discussed it. So,
okay, fair point. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, Laura.
I'll just suggest or ask whether there's a way in communicating again to parishioners that if they want to be on the database, how to get on it, because I don't know, like there must be lots of new people in the village or people that don't know that they could get emails or communication in this way. So it might be worth just re-advertising that as an option.
Okay, it's on the homepage of the website, but
I know, but I just sort of think if unless you go looking for it on the website, like maybe we could make it a little bit more, I don't know, reach out to people a little bit more to say, I don't know how, maybe on their own notice boards or Facebook or all the other methods, just so that it's an option.
Put it in Spectrum as well, in the Spectrum IT.
Maybe when Spectrum is reprinted.
It's online. It's available online, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spectrum hasn't been produced for the last 2 months.
No, it hasn't. It's not available.
The last issue went online, the one that should have been delivered by paper, but there's been nothing produced since then.
Yeah. We can't give that means, but yes. I mean, obviously, the bigger our database, the better it is. So, yeah, encouraged to sign up. Be a good idea. So that's a proposal that we add emails onto our media policy. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Looking around, Peter, you've put your hand up, seconder. All in favour? Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's good. Okay. Now, moving on to discuss and decide whether to apply for a £1,000 grant from Huntingdonshire Community Chest to purchase books to support reading by primary school aged children in the village. You'll see in a supporting document from Heather the detail of this. A lot of information has gone into that and the books proposed. Discussion, please. Obviously, Heather, you might want to just lead on that one.
Just to say that I've canvassed various primary school aged mums and dads and parents, carers, and they have said there's a real need for real books. Getting to the library has been really difficult, and even with a proposed opening, there's only a couple of hours twice a week that you can get into St Ives Library. The head teacher said it was a really good idea, so I'm proposing that we work out which books to buy if we get the grant, buy the books, and then work out a loan scheme, which I'm quite happy to organise.
Very good.
Okay, Laura?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Just from personal experience, we get like at the Oxford Owl website linked provided by school for children to access books. It's completely different for children who are used to reading a book. Try and read it on a tablet or device that doesn't support it in the correct way, and my daughter's really not interested in reading on her tablet, so the actual physical books would be much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, I mean, do schools still have books, or is it a problem that it's getting hold of them now with coronavirus? It's a problem.
Well, most children aren't in schools currently to get them, and they've just before they closed, all the books were taken back in, and they weren't given any books to take home with them because of I think at the time the touching books was the sharing books was the issue.
Okay. Peter? No? Okay.
I'm muted. I was muted. No, oh, sorry. I've got my iPad was leaning on the thingy, on the keypad. Yeah, I mean, there's some work to be done, isn't there? You don't have to. The £1,000 grant is it, Heather? There's no contribution required from the council, and the scheme's open for a while.
So the scheme opened about 4 weeks ago. They had £50,000. Yesterday they had allocated £25,000 of that. They meet every Wednesday, and it's on a first come, first served basis if you meet the criteria. So I'd fill in the application for the parish council if it's approved, and then either this Wednesday or a week on Wednesday we'll know the result.
The question. Sorry.
I just said go for it.
Yeah, that's good. It's a question that we have 150 books. I'm just concerned about the logistics of it. I mean, I know Heather said she'd work out a method, but I mean, I can see quite a headache here, and what our obligations are with those books, and how long we'd have to keep them, and what sort of track. Because obviously, this would have to keep going for many a year, I would have thought. Otherwise, the community chest might start getting cross with us. I mean, it's a long-term thing that we're potentially committing to.
No, we're not committing to a long-term thing. We're committing to providing education for children whilst schools inaccessible and people are playing catch-up with their education afterwards. The resource then belongs to us to decide what to do with it afterwards.
Oh, so we really are just talking about summer holidays, maybe Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned about. I mean, I'm going to bounce it back to you, but you mentioned about admin. I mean, 150 books is quite some size, and checking it all out. I mean, were you envisaging holding them in your garage or something, or what?
Well, I doubt it'll be 150 books. It's only £1,000, and I think you're going to be lucky to buy a book at less than £3 or £4 a piece.
Right.
I say we go for the grant, have the money, and then work out what we're going to do about organising the books, because it seems such a shame if we miss it because we're not first come, first served, when we can just get some free books that would help the children in the village.
Indeed, but I say we are lending them out, so we need to have some commitment there that we are going to actually sort out a system for issuing them. So all those that do vote in favour, I will be assuming that you'll be lending a hand in some means or somehow, because if we've got to take these books in, store them for 3 days, check the condition, I mean, presumably we have to list what's available, or would we just have children? I mean, I don't use these questions answered, but I think although the system is very good, I just think there are lots of headaches that might need to be resolved. But I appreciate that if we've got the will, then all these things can be sorted. And if it's not a long-term problem, then I'm happy to sort of go with it on the short term. Andy, your hands up there. I just want to have a quick chat.
Yeah, no, I think it's an absolutely excellent idea. And what we've seen with a lot of initiatives that this lockdown has created actually are more book sharing clubs. There's a lot of these starting up, not in the form that you're looking at, but actually, you know, in church porches and all sorts of places for people to share books, and certainly for children. So my only comment is in a longer term approach, and I'd be happy to really help with this as well, is a lot of people in this village and others have got lots of books from their children that they would be willing to share with others, I'm absolutely sure. So perhaps we could look at a short-term and a longer-term approach of a book sharing initiative that we could spin out over the oncoming months and years.
Okay. Well, the proposal is at the moment, or Heather, fire away. I think. Sorry, does anyone wish to add anything at all? No. Okay, Heather, fire away.
Graham, sorry, you mentioned it briefly. What is the obligation that comes with this? Is there one, or is this?
I'll pass it over to Heather to repeat that. So,
There is
actually,
no one of the 4. Pardon?
I say Heather's had her internet mended, but it's not much better than last time.
It did.
There's no obligation at all to anything apart from to meet one of the 4 criteria mentioned, one of which is education.
So it's, as I understand it, it's really to help with children's reading until they get back to school, where there are lots of books waiting for them. So it's a stopgap. I mean, £1,000 sounds a lot to us, but I suppose if on the scheme of things, maybe for children's education, it's not that much to worry about in terms of that. So I think we've exhausted our conversation. Heather.
So the proposal is to apply for a £1,000 grant from Huntingdonshire Community Chest.
We'll need a second.
To purchase books.
Purchase books. Laura's seconding it. Can I put those in favour? 1, 2. Okay. All in favour, apart from myself. I'm abstaining from ignorance, but that's whatever. So, okay. Fine. Thank you much. That's
you should
good.
read some books, Graham. That'll help with ignorance.
Nice one, Rob.
I have to wear these things. It's not. No, that's fine. I hope we sort something out. So that's great. Good. Thank you very much. Right. What's this one here? So we've got £1,000 to discuss. And Peter,
Could I just ask a question, please? Sorry. With regards to the application that will be put via the clerk who sends correspondence on behalf of the parish council, yeah?
yes, sorry, yes, good point. Yes, Heather, if you can communicate with Nicola,
yeah.
Then it's
Thank
obviously
you.
got the parish council logo on it. Thank you very much. Yes, good. Okay. Where are we up to? 2142. Discuss and decide upon whether to investigate and apply for funding to install a trim trail in the village. Now, you've got supporting documents from Heather. This initially came from a few comments that were made when we did when the play park was discussed. So again, Heather, maybe it's easy if you start this one off, please.
So yes, the playground was very well received. Several of the comments, as you say, afterwards were for something for older children and adults. And recently I've been aware that Sport England are offering funding to communities to install just such a device with grants of up to £50,000. At the moment, this is literally to investigate and to apply for funding. We don't then have to decide we're actually going to do one, but it would be good to be in a position to have the money to know that we could if we wanted to. I have walked around the village with Ian and sort of looked at from the enormous screen that we've got by the cricket pavilion or anywhere like that, maybe consider areas around the wilderness, but let's not get hung up about where it could go at the moment. This is just about, are we interested in applying for something which could meet the fitness needs, encourage fitness post-COVID for villagers who are over the age of 12.
Okay, anybody wish to comment? Laura.
My quick answer is yes. I think we should be willing to do the application to get the funding further the subsequent discussions about the when, where, and why is a bit. So I think it's a good idea.
Anne? Just to say, when we did the playground, as Heather said, we had a lot of interest from older people wanting something of this sort. So great idea, do it.
Peter?
I just wondered if there was any indication of what the cost would be and what the contribution would have to be from the parish council.
So there is no contribution for this grant from Sport England. And the cost for the 6 stations, including delivery and installation, is round about 15 to 20,000.
Okay, thank you. because I just wasn't sure what the cost would be.
Sharon?
I think it's a great idea, and I think it would really encourage people to be active and you know and enjoy the village a bit more, because there's lots of people out walking at the moment, and I think it would really be a great thing for, you know, the adults in the village.
Yeah, I have a huge problem with this. I just think it's totally against what's out there. At the moment, there's lots of people that are walking around the green, and I think they enjoy it as it is. We do have something quite unique out there. It's not a park. I mean, these things we normally find in a park where you're trying to compress the opportunities for leisure within a smaller area, because you've got a much bigger locality or parishioners that need to use it. And previously, we've resisted all structures. Just the most recent one, of course, was the signs for the Ford, where we had to be confident that the benefit was going to be greater than the potential harm, the visual harm. It's all a question of visual harm. I do appreciate that this is get the grant and see, but surely if you've got, I would suggest that we start at the other end, where we need to be confident that what we're doing is the right thing by the green and by our parishioners. And I have a worry that what we're doing, I appreciate it's been asked for by various people, but it is a change, and I think it's going to adversely affect how the green looks. I mean, whether you've got other locations that you're thinking of, but if it comes into the green, then I think it's going to be an adverse addition. Anne?
Just to say that given the first come first served nature, I'm sure, of these grants, why don't we go for it, and in parallel start looking at, well, where could a trim trail go? But the whole idea of a trim trail is that items are spaced out, and you move from one to the other, so it's not a concentrated heap that would, you know, ruin the view. But there's lots of different spaces in and around the village. We could be quite creative about where they were. So why don't we do the two things in parallel?
Okay. Heather, you had your hand, I think.
No, it was covered.
Okay, fair enough. Sharon?
I would agree, actually, because a lot of villages do have this type of equipment, and I know the green is sacrosanct in the village, and I'm not saying to put, you know, a trim trail around the cricket, you know, green or anything, but I just think actually there's a lot of people who would really benefit from that in the village, and the parishioners would, I think, if you know, if you asked the parishioners, they would actually, I don't think there'd be many people against it, particularly if we could put some of it in the wilderness. You know, there is a lot of tree cover, and, you know, you could easily, I'm not saying hide the equipment, but the equipment wouldn't be directly visible in a lot of areas. So, you know, I don't think it'd spoil the beauty of the village or the green at all, actually.
Who hasn't spoken? Rob, are you happy? Anne?
I'd just say we have the facility with that kind of equipment to move it around as well. So we don't need to have one fixed trail. We could move the stuff around at different points in time. So it's never going to spoil any view for any length of time.
Didn't we talk about this type of thing when we looked at the play park, in terms of extending the area around that to have some more potential?
We did. We did.
Peter?
Is it movable once
No.
it's fixed in? No, I didn't think it was. No,
Oh,
it would have to be securely fixed, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I beg your pardon.
Kieran has given, I think it was included in the notes, Kieran sent around something to say there are permissions that can be granted for this sort of thing to be placed on the green. So it is a possibility. What I would say is I'm not proposing, well, obviously I haven't got this far yet, but I'm not proposing having the bright fluorescent green type of equipment, which really stands out. It would be wooden stuff which blends in with the background and around perimeters, not in the middle of a space.
Yeah, it's the question of, in that point, what is a permanent structure? But yeah, Peter.
I got over what area would it go?
It's all still to be decided at the moment.
Okay.
Ian
I was just thinking about Rob's comment that to put it, if it were around where the playground is at the moment.
The two companies that I did speak to say what sort of money are we talking about, said that they would both do free consultations to advise about siting the equipment in different places. When I walked around with Ian, it's feasible to place probably 5 or 6 stations around the wilderness, so they would be okay.
Around the world.
I say it's
It froze again for a moment.
Sorry?
It froze again for a moment, just as
Yes,
Heather
yeah.
was in full.
I mean, it's a local name, but it's still all covered by the green regs, rules and regs. Ian, are you just coughing? You got your yellow boxes going around you, but did you? You just coughing?
I was coughing.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Peter.
Sorry, a question. The area around the playground is not the green?
Correct.
No, that's
okay.
Sorry.
So it would be potentially less of an issue to put it in that, in terms of if it needed planning permission or not.
It's parish council land,
yeah.
But it's not governed by the same rules as common land.
As the common land, yeah.
Yes. So that's that. Okay. Okay. Well, I think we've all had our chat that wanted to. So I would just, as a closing point here, that I feel that our council is a very good representative mix of the parish, and therefore, if we're split, I think we're going to split the village. Having said that, I'm not getting a very warm feeling for any support for my views. Yeah, so I'm going to ask that Heather takes the proposal on this one.
So the proposal is to apply for funding to install a trim trail in the village.
Okay, need a seconder for that, please. Sharon seconding it. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, fine. And just myself against. Okay, fine. Thank you much. Right. Okay.
Sorry. 6. Did you say 6 in favour and 1 against?
I think I was the only one out because Ian's in the dark. Is that right? I mean, Peter, you were in favour. Ian's in favour. Sharon, Laura, yeah, all in favour.
Rob?
Rob's in favour, aren't you? Yes. Yeah. So it's just okay. Right. So again, with time in mind, I'm going to suggest that we receive the final reports. Sorry, not the final reports. These are financial reports. Nicola does these on a monthly basis. We don't always look at them, so they're there for us to peruse. But bearing in mind the time, I don't wish to go through them unless someone wants to. So I'm going to propose that we note them, and I need a seconder for that. We can look at them in more detail later on. Can I have a seconder that we just gloss over those? Ian, thank you very much. All in favour? All in favour of it? Laura? Yeah. Fine. And myself. Good. Okay. So moving on. By the way, thank you, Nicola, for producing them. No one actually reads, but thank you. Okay. Right.
One thing, sorry, Graham. What does HMRC VTR mean?
We're on that now.
VAT.
We've just done 2143. We're now doing 2144.
Oh, sorry.
So these are the payments received during the week or during the month of last time. Obviously, £10 sale of two maps. And I'll get Nicola to explain the HMRC. It's in the supporting docs under PowerPoints. But a bit of a confusion, really, isn't there?
There is, because I haven't. This is the normal reference when I do the VAT 126 reclaim. This is the payment reference that comes into the bank account. However, I've not done a reclaim for this value. It's not a value of the outstanding VAT to be claimed for any period. So I have absolutely no idea where this money's come from. I've spent quite a considerable amount of time on the phone to HMRC. Eventually got through to the correct department to be told that that department is currently closed due to COVID. So they don't have an email address. They're not answering the phone. So I have written to them and I'm awaiting a reply.
But
at the moment, we've got 750 quid that I can't identify.
Yeah, but we mustn't spend it because they're probably going to want it back, aren't they?
Possibly.
Okay, right. So moving on. These are payments to approve. Again, you've got the big list there. It's quite a long list this week, isn't it? This month, rather.
In your supporting documents, you'll see there's an extra couple of payments that are added that came in after the agenda was issued.
Ooh. Now, is that in the PowerPoint or the other one?
That's in the PowerPoint. So if you work from the PowerPoint, you've got the full list.
Okay. Okay. This must be an issue with Dropbox, or I haven't got latest update, which is probably down to me. But my PowerPoint stops at the HMRC, I'm afraid.
So does mine.
The second PowerPoint in Dropbox called Monthly Authorised Payments of Accounts.
Ah, okay. Just bear with me. Okay, so it's not in the, okay. That one.
I knew I'd seen it.
Lots of money in that one. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So just to prevent me from actually comparing one to the other, can you just mention the two that are new?
The two at the bottom.
Presumably they're at the bottom, are they?
Yeah.
14, so you've got the internal audit to Able, and then we got Shaw and Son for 121 for the minute book, which you mentioned in your sum up at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. So have you all seen the authorised payments, like I just have, on PowerPoint? There's the any issues there that you wish to raise? No. Okay then. So I propose that we approve those. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Heather seconding it. All in favour? They're paid accordingly. Laura, you happy to get them? got sidetracked. Okay, so they'll be done in the
various. I was looking at it on my screen. I wasn't looking at something else. Are there many
backs? So there'll be a few backs coming through for us to sign off via Unity, so that's fine. So as long as Ian and I think Kieran's busy, so it'd be yourself. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you much. Right. Let's go back to. I don't know how you manage without two screens. I tell you. It's bad enough with two.
It's what you get to see when you're a proficient working from home person. You have two screens.
I've got two screens rather than printing it all off, but it's still jolly hard work. Right, we've come to the end almost. 2146 councillors' items. Does anyone have anything? I'll go in clockwise direction. Heather.
Yes, I am very pleased to report that they have started work on the new cycle path going out of the village on the right-hand side of the road towards St Ives. Drove along there today and it's been started.
Yeah, I would step back a bit. It's not as dramatic as maybe it's about 20 foot, isn't it? 30 foot?
Oh, I don't know. It takes it away from the blind corner where it was really unsafe to cross the road.
So, and they've also started on the bit from where the footpath comes out at 5 Arches, haven't they? They've done that bit of the path up to the bridge, and then at the bottom of the bridge you can now cross over much closer to the bridge, and then there's that section that you were in communication with, isn't it?
Yes.
Gosh, am I discussing council items? Sorry.
I am taking credit for that path, and I'm going to name it Heather's Path.
Okay.
Well done, yeah.
Having said that, if spray paint does appear on it, you may well be blamed for it. So, okay, is that the only item? Yeah, fine. Well done. Thank you much for organising that. Peter.
I had written down, say thanks to Heather about the footpath that they're working on. And then the other one I will raise as a question for future agenda item is Gravely Way on the list for repairs following the completion of the A14 project, particularly the traffic calming measures as you leave the village, the red stuff on the road, it's all. And if Nicola could kindly ask HCCC that. Thank you.
She might even know it, but well, you can talk to her later. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Rob?
I might beat Sharon to this. Sharon, I was speaking earlier, just thinking about fireworks in November. And obviously, we're going to have a quiet period coming up, but we normally at some point get approached by the firework committee to look at buying fireworks. Like I said, all a bit uncertain this year. We don't know whether even we'll be allowed to have a fireworks display in November, but something we probably need to start thinking about and figuring out how much planning and work we actually want to undertake until we've got some clarity, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point, because again, discussing it, I think it would probably fall under sort of outside events and concerts and things, wouldn't it? Which obviously are banned at the moment. So yeah, we need to bear that one in mind. Thank you. Yeah. Laura? Okay. Darren, I can't ask you. Sharon?
Yeah, just one thing. I was just going to say that I'm going to reconvene a meeting about the renovation of the pavilion, because Sport England seems to have opened up their funding options, and there are more. There's a county council funding option as well. So I was hoping to do that and maybe have it on the agenda for next month, just to see where we go to, you know, if anyone's got any other ideas where we could apply for funding, because we failed on the last bid to Sport England. So we've applied twice to Sport England and haven't been successful. So the local, sorry, it's HDC actually have released a funding stream, which I think Heather kindly shared on, that she'd seen on Twitter. So so I just wondered, are we able to just call can I call a meeting, say, you know, about that, or in August, and then report back to the council in September?
I mean, the working group hasn't been abandoned, so yeah, I don't see
No. Okay.
Yeah, so that'd be fine. Anne?
No, nothing from me, thank you.
Ian?
Just a bit for information, really, to let other councillors know that we have been in discussion with Alan Rule, the farmer, down on the B1040 towards our Papworth. He's had problems with some of his machinery going through the village, particularly down Church End. And we are, in discussion with him, and we're perhaps going to do a little bit of trimming of some of the trees there, with his cooperation. The other bit for information is that I will be going around. There are a number of saplings that are growing where they shouldn't be, particularly along the Wear, just on the Gravely Way. And also there are some stumps that we cut trees down in the past that have started to regrow, and again I should be going around those and just treating them. So there will be some dead foliage appearing in various places in the village. So if people ask you what it's about, then you've got some idea. If need be, have a word with me.
Fine. Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you much. That's good. Okay then. So time at 9:40. Thank you very much, and see you in September, if not before. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Well done.